Roslyn Media presents from the heart of Atlanta, The Roslyn Show, international broadcast. We're having casual, candid conversations. This program is brought to you by Hendrickson Legacy Group. We're protecting the lives of those you love. Today's broadcast topic is the last choice but chosen. And now, let's give a hearty welcome to your favorite host, Rosalind Hendrickson. Hello, and welcome to today's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a lot of things to unpack, and I'm just excited that you're here. Let's have an amazing conversation. And I believe that today's topic is really going to maybe perhaps evoke some emotional feelings that you have had from childhood. And then, of course, other things that we may talk about. They may really open our eyes. I feel like it may be eye openers. And then we'll talk about it. And then let's just delve into the topic. And so we'll get to it all in just a moment. The topic is the last choice but chosen. This, to me, in and of itself, is a powerful topic. And I really want to talk about it with you. For some of you, you maybe felt like you were different all your whole life. You were just not like anybody else that you knew. Uh, and maybe you didn't fit in, and you had friends and family, and even in school and wherever you were, you just felt like you didn't fit in. It didn't matter where it was. Maybe you were the last one chosen on the football team, and maybe you didn't get chosen the first or the first choice for the cheerleading squad, or maybe even at work, you were the last one who got promoted. But either way, I believe that what it is that you're chosen. And sometimes, unless we really know what the characteristics are of a chosen one, maybe we might go through our whole lives just trying to figure things out and wondering why it always seems to work a certain way, regardless of where we are. We can move 100 miles or 1,000 miles from home and still seem to go through those same things over and over. And that really honestly started out in childhood. Let's have a real conversation today. And part of that is let's go deeper. Let's really discover what's behind all these things that maybe we've been experiencing over time. But despite all of that, one thing that honestly I believe most chosen ones have is favor. They have favor, and so. But let's delve into it real quickly. There's a scripture in the Bible, and it comes from First Samuel, the 15th and the 16th chapter. And it's basically the story about of David. He was a shepherd boy. He had several brothers. I think it was 10. But anyway, he was at home. He was one of those, he was out there alone. He was tending the sheep. He's out in the fields. And perhaps maybe what was going on at home maybe had driven him there in a sense. He was the little guy. He was the ruddy one. He was different. He was, I believe, maybe perhaps redheaded or whatever it was. Can maybe have had. He was just different. They said he was ruddy. I always pictured him to be redheaded, but regardless of what he looked like, maybe you can identify some things that the characteristics that David had. I saw David as this. As we get into the story, he was the one who was out there alone most of the time. Probably kind of was the type as a child. You know how you go out and play by yourself and you're kicking stones and just finding some time. Probably a lot he'd find himself alone by himself because he probably really didn't fit in. And maybe his brothers didn't really include him. He always felt excluded. And then, of course, there were things though that was powerful about it that maybe probably nobody in the family really recognized. If he was out there playing in the field, or if he's out there as he was tending the sheep, I read where he had literally had tackled a lion with his bare hands. A bear slew a bear, bare hands. Could you imagine this little bitty ruddy guy out here doing powerful things like that? And more or less, I'm sure his brothers talked about it, but imagine him being the one who was so different that he really honestly didn't fit in. But the one thing that probably that I believe truly that stood out is that regardless of his frame or who he was chosen. So there's 10 things that I want to share with you about the chosen ones. And to kind of get into that story before we get into the 10 things. Of course, Samuel had come out there, the prophet. The Lord had literally had resisted King Saul. He was basically, the Lord had rejected. He was with his sin and the things that he had fallen into, Saul basically eliminated himself from being king, and God was ready to move on and to choose a new king. And the Lord began to speak to the prophet, as in many cases in the Bible. He spoke to the prophet Samuel, and he told Saul, basically, from my understanding and what I've read, that the spirit of the Lord has departed from you, Saul, and so the kingdom has been ripped and torn away from you, and now Israel is needing a new king. Of course, I'm sure that it didn't set too well with Saul, but anyway, the prophet was just obeying God. He was the mouthpiece. He was just telling Saul what the Lord was saying, and so of course the Lord tells him to rise and go to Jesse's house. So he goes out there to Jesse's house, and imagine, and he tells him why he was there, and told him to call his sons. And so he called, maybe the first son. He came. Well, no, it's not him. And then the second son, the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And finally, all of them were called. And he's like, no, they are not the ones. Do you have one more son? Do you have one more? And Jesse said, yes, we have David. Like, I'm sure more or less, the family was like, well, we know he's not the one. But guess what? Samuel said, call him. And so they went out there. I'm sure someone went and got him, and he came into the house. And he said, yes, he is the one. And this is what I want to say to you. Regardless of even like with David, what had happened in his life, probably all the jokesters and the jokes were probably always played on him, and maybe they were jealous of him and what he possessed, and probably was teased a lot, left out, and purposely. But despite all of that, he was still the chosen one. And of course, Samuel, the prophet, looked at him. He knew exactly who he was the minute he laid eyes on him. And so he began to anoint David. He took the oil and he anointed his head with oil. And of course, there was some time, I believe, there before he actually became king. But God had already appointed him from an early age. And so, before we get into the rest of the lesson, I want to encourage you sort of battle, even with family or people you work with, and it's left you feeling distraught. And maybe at times, maybe you growing up, you may have felt depressed, and even now, maybe you feel, maybe as a person, an adult, there's things that were still very traumatic that you're dealing with regarding your relationships that you were in as a child. Maybe people just hated on you for no reason. You were just this good person. You were just hanging out. Maybe you just minding your own business. But people made it their business to go out of their way to either put you down or to pick fights with you or whatever it was, or even your parents may have left you out. You may have been the last one that was ever really done for. You always felt like, that maybe you weren't well liked, or you're the one who felt like you were kind of excluded when it came to it didn't matter what it was. But even now today, you're carrying a very hurtful and a sorrowful heart because of what you endured as a child, as a young person. And maybe that continued into adulthood when you were married, you was rejected by a spouse, or you were in and out of relationships, and you found yourself, you were maybe all alone, uh, which a lot of chosen ones do find themselves alone a lot of times. And I feel like it's by design in a sense, because God literally a lot of times he reserves and preserves you for Himself, and He has set you aside to garner and to pull out the gifts so that He can use you to do mighty things. And so that takes us to the 10 things that I think we need to look at when it comes to the chosen ones. And one thing that I would say about being chosen often evokes the destiny and purpose. It's important to remember that it's a concept it can be interpreted by many ways, in many ways by different people, depending on who they are, and the sense of what they have maybe identified in you or noted in you. And a lot of times, it really depends on a unique combination of factors, uh, traits, experiences. There are certain, I believe, inner qualities. There's certain things that you can see in a person. A lot of times, if we look deep enough and we look hard enough, you can see these strong um, uh, characteristics that come with being chosen. And I believe as we go through these, you're going to see some things, and maybe you be able to identify some of these in your own personality and who you are. Um, they have a heightened sense of intuition. It's like I call it literally like you can see through people. You ever been around people who are like that? I mean, literally, they can see through you, and they're not easily fooled. And I think they have a very deep sense of discernment, and then also they have a very deep sense of purpose. And it seems like they go through life looking for there seem like they're just completely like they're not satisfied. It's like they just on this journey of looking for a deeper purpose and a deeper sense in life, a deeper meaning in life. And then they also have the ability to overcome difficulties. It seemed like challenges when they're going through things. It's like everybody else would probably, literally, they would drown in what they swam through. Other people, if they went through it or chose the one went through, they wouldn't last 5 minutes, literally, but they overcome difficulties and insurmountable odds for the average person. And definitely, they're not average, but they're compassionate. And a lot of times, they have a very deep, resilient spirit. And a lot of times, I think, looking on the spiritual side of it, sometimes they can be very, I think they're very, have a strong intuition, but they also have a very deep sense of people. They read the room, they can read people, and they're not easily fooled by people. So, but there are 10 signs, and we're just going to go through these. And honestly, I would encourage you to take some notes because this is, I think, is an eye opener. And I feel the Lord really ministering to some people. Maybe right now you're feeling like you just want to cave in. You're saying, I have been through so much in life and there is no help. It seems like every time I feel like I'm left alone. But the thing is, and the positive side of that is that every time you've gone through those things, that God seems to just come out of nowhere and rescue you. He sends his angels, and it's like you have a literally like an army of angels who always take care of you. You have a backup, literally. If you were to call in for help, radio for help, you always have some sort of backup. One thing I will tell you, and I won't talk about me, but I can tell you from experience that a lot of times what average people may have fallen, trapped to, or maybe other people, they might be on the side of the road, or they may have faced some serious accident or whatever. And what may have taken some out, a chosen one would have survived and overcome the odds. And you see this over and over, even throughout scripture in the Bible. But there's 10 signs that I'm going to share with you. And then you can infer from what I'm mentioning here what you believe or what you feel in your heart, maybe because you may be a chosen one. Heightened intuition. You have a strong feeling or sense about situations, about people. And a lot of times you see things ahead of time. For a lot of people, hindsight is 2020, but you're the guy, you're the girl. You can literally have predictions. Or I would say a lot of times, some prophets or people who are chosen, that they have what I call like a prophetic gift. and they're anointed. They're different. And then they have a deeper sense of and value truth. Uh, Kind of like, as a child, maybe everybody around you, maybe in class, they would lie, but you always be the one who told the truth. And you were always, were looking for the truth from people, and you expected it because that is what you live by. You live by a certain standard that maybe the average person didn't live by. You have a sense of purpose. You felt a very strong calling to do something meaningful, and then you had a desire to make a meaningful contribution, or you felt a calling to minister to the nations, or to do some type of humanitarian work, or philanthropists, or whatever it is that you have been chosen to do. That's what you did, and you did it from a very deep sense of purpose from your heart. You were different than other people. Maybe I seriously, I've seen people a lot of times who are chosen. Maybe you're the one who, when everybody, maybe they didn't have lunch money, a person didn't have lunch money, you're the one who gave them your lunch money. Or you're in class, in school, maybe somebody needed a pencil. You're the one who gave them the pencil, or the one who needed a pair of shoes. And you see where I'm going with this, right? You have a very deep, loving heart, and a very deep sense of caring that other people might not have. Resilience and strength. You're just, like I said, when you're very resilient and you have strength, but the average may, but the thing about the chosen one is that they overcome things that literally would take somebody else out. But God allowed them to, he allowed them to go to heights unknown, more than the average person. And you can see this, I'm sure, in David once you read throughout the Bible, the things that David overcame, even the times that Saul later on tried to kill David, and even David, Saul was asleep in a cave, and David, the Lord said, "Well, you can't touch his life." But obviously, he probably was like, this dude right here, he's chasing me down, he's pursuing me, and but even when given the opportunity to harm another, David didn't. Um, he just basically cut off a part of a piece of his robe, and showed it to Saul later on. Could you imagine? He's in the cave, and then Saul literally, he cuts a piece of his Saul's garment, and he hands it to him later on and said, "Look, I could have, if I wanted to, I could have done some pretty serious damage, but he chose not. He chose not to." So let's read on here. And then compassionate heart. And that's the part where I can honestly say with David, he had a very passionate heart. He's very compassionate and very passionate about who he was and his beliefs. And when he took a stand, it's like he rose to the occasion. Um, and then you see here, he deeply cared for others, and you're given, and even you're driven to help those in need. Often, sometimes putting yourself last, and you go above and beyond the average person in helping the next person. You really, truly want to make a difference in the lives of other people. And then number five, you have an unwavering faith. You believe despite even the odds that are right in your face. You say, you know what? I am going to stick with this. I'm not going to give up because I know the promise that God gave me. Six, spiritual discernment. You can discern between genuine and fake. I call it your fakeometer. You can see if people have fake intentions, or if they have ill motives. You can pick up on that. You're not easily fooled. And then you also have a very keen understanding spiritually. You're able to discern other, things in other people. You can see things in people. Maybe the average person can't see, but when you're chosen, it's like literally like vision on steroids. You can see straight through people, and God will often show you these people, and you just have a very deep spiritual sense of people, situations, and places that the average person, even atmospheres. I believe that when you're chosen, you can pick up on atmospheres, and your gut is like you have this deep sense of discernment, and your gut will tell you, which I feel is the spirit telling you that that person is a problem. Or also, a lot of times we talk about things about negative things, but it's not always about negativity. You can also sense the good in people. You can pick up when people have good motives. You're drawn to people who are honest and truthful in nature. You're not put off, or you're not easily fooled by people who even fake like they're good people, but you can pick up on it. And then somehow you face unusual challenges in life. You go through more difficulties than the average person. And to the average eye, you look like you're the one who always seems to have an emergency, or you have, what it is. What I learned is that a lot of times your warfare is going to be far, far worse than someone who's not chosen. And they look at you like, wow, this. They look at you like like you're Superman. But in a sense, biblically, you really are. You're not like everybody else. Imagine David out there. I mean, he slew a bear, a lion with his bare hands. Could you imagine? What man that you know of has taken down a lion lately? All right. And then help always comes through. I call these people, it seems like they are the 1159 people. It seems like no matter what they're dealing with, God always seems to come through for them. And it seems like right when it seems like all hope is gone, uh, things just work out and they fall into place. You ever seen the movies where you had like the villain, and then of course you had the good guy, but they're always the one who survives at the end of the movie. And you imagine they're the ones who always are the ones who arise victorious in the end, and everybody else is gone, and they're everybody else is dead, or they're gone. Let's put it that way. Everybody else perished. They could be on the boat, and they're the last one with the little white flag. But maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you're one of those people. And I really want you to think about that. But in the midst of all of it, God has been right there. He's been right there for you. He never left your side. He's always cared. He always made ways for you. Favor surrounded you as a shield. And I want you to keep that in mind too. That favor, say that with me. Favor surrounds me as a shield. Everywhere you go, favor goes ahead of you. Isn't that a blessing? And then number 9, living in an story. And I always love to hear the stories of the chosen ones, because they have overcome insurmountable odds. Many have had like near death experiences, or I mean, they were just literally just beat up, and maybe they're the ones left in the alley, but the angels showed up, or before somebody could do any harm to them, they were the ones that were rescued. And then they lived and answered prayers. And maybe you're finding yourself every time you're faced with some challenge or a great trial, you find yourself, God answering your prayers despite all the odds. And God somehow allows your desires and your things that you even a lot of times wasn't even expecting to come through in a certain way when things just look like it wasn't even going to work out. Somehow you found your way. God found a way. He made a way for you. And then finally, number 10, people treat you differently. We kind of talked about that at the beginning. And maybe you are the one who was always the last on the list. And you are always, even a lot of you put yourself last. So the Lord is saying to tell you, I want to minister to you for a moment. And then, of course, a lot of times other people have been drawn to you, and maybe they are under dire circumstances. I know for sure at times it seemed like you never meet any strangers. Maybe you find yourself like at a store or a restaurant, and you always people seem to be so trusting of you, and they will literally sit down and tell you their whole life story. And then of course they're living on a whole different level. And so I want to minister to those that are chosen right now in this moment. Whatever happened in your childhood that shaped your life today, maybe your childhood was filled with scarred. Uh, Maybe you were shouted at a lot or made fun of, or people said things to you that was very undesirable because they saw your sweetness as and meekness as weakness. But sweetness and the goodness and your good heart was taken advantage of. I hear the Lord saying today, He said, I'm going to raise you up to the next level. And I'm causing my chosen ones to enter into hallways of blessings. And I'm causing them corporately to rise up in my body. And I'm going to use them in these days. For these are difficult times and difficult days, but they will help to guide those who have lost their way. And He said, I'm bringing you into another land of blessing. And I am going to surround you with favor like as a shield. And I will protect you all the days of your life. So again, I appreciate you for taking the time to sit with me. And I've had an amazing conversation with you. And I want you to come back and I want you to talk with us again and just join us on the next broadcast. And of course, again, today's topic was the last choice, but chosen. So I want to leave these few words with you of encouragement and to empower you, and also with us on a daily, on a regularly every week, that perhaps you want to support this ministry. And we welcome any donation of any size. And that is to help us to get the gospel out. Just a lot of different things that we have to have in order to take care of our technical things that we have to provide, our employees and things of that nature. And then the other thing is a full program. It's called Stretch, our Stretch campaign. You can go to, it's in honor of my father, as we're coming up on Father's Day very soon. I wanted to take the time to honor my dad. His name was Leroy Johnson. He's gone now, but he was a heart patient. And if you go to the website, cause it would be just so appreciated. You can give to that. So have a good day, and we'll see you again soon.